Are you planning on RV travel with kids? You don't want to miss today's episode. My expert guests will share tips on traveling with kids, traveling with pets, and how to meet dietary needs such as vegan and other special diets. And they have so much more to share. My name is Patti Hunt, and you're listening to the RV Life Podcast. Unfortunately, didn't have the opportunity to travel with kids. And I wish I had. Living on the road full time for over 3 years, I saw so many kids on the road and the amazing experiences they were having. It was just an incredible learning experience. It was incredible to see all these kids, just out there having fun, having experiences, learning on the road. And I kind of wish I had that opportunity. This episode was inspired by messages I received from my listeners that wanted to hear more about tips on traveling with kids. The RV Life podcast was created to entertain, educate, and explore the RV lifestyle with the mission to inspire you to live life to the fullest. This week, what you need to know, brought to you by Open Road Resorts. They have locations in Montana, Idaho, Nebraska, New Mexico, and Texas. Inspired by their mission to get outside, share experiences, and deepen connections. The campgrounds are highly amenitized, family-friendly RV and camping destinations in desirable locations. And I'm so happy to be able to offer my RV Life podcast guest the 25% off discount. So for 2 nights or more during the 2025 season, at all parks, you could get 25% off. Now you need to book by January 31st, 2025. There are certain blackout dates. And that code is RV Life 25. It is all caps. RV Life 25 to get 25% off stays of 2 nights or more. What you need to know: a number of families with children are RVing full-time, and that is steadily increasing. Studies show many parents choosing RVing as a way to spend quality time with their kids, strengthen family bonds, and create lasting memories. The rise in remote work and virtual learning has enabled families to embrace RV living. What you need to know is brought to you by Open Road Resorts, and you can find out all about them at openroadresorts.com. Let's get into my guests today. Lia and Trevor and their daughter Lennon have been living the full-time RV life since 2019, exploring the U.S. with their 2 senior dogs. They're passionate about family and pet-friendly travel, creating 5 to 7 day city itineraries that cover the best places to stay, hike, and eat vegan, dedicated to minimalist, intentional lifestyle. They aim to inspire others to embrace adventure and live fully on the road. Welcome, Lee and Trevor, to the RV Life Podcast.
Thank you.
Hello.
It is so great to have you on. I had the opportunity to meet you guys while in Hershey, and I just had this connection and knew I needed to have you guys on the podcast, and here we are. So let's dive in. You've been on the road since 2019 with your daughter, Lennon, who's now 6.5. But how did this all start? How did the RV life journey start for you guys? Tell us the story.
I almost want to hear Trevor's version of the story because I'm usually the person who tells it. So I'm going to challenge Trevor to share it and see how it comes out. And then maybe I'll share my version because you'll probably get a different answer from everyone.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, I know back around 2018, like 2019, when we started, one of our big things is we just knew that we wanted to travel more and be able to see more things around the United States. So at one point we were looking into van life like getting one of those camper vans that's like all converted and decked out, and being able to take that around to get outdoors and go camping and traveling more often. And then we started researching that a little bit more, and kind of found out the price tag on one of those and we're a little bit shocked. Like those things, those vans are really cool, but they can cost, about as much of as a house. And it's still a van. So we were looking at that and realizing they're small enough that we probably wouldn't be able to like live in it. We'd basically be buying a house on the side of
like a vacation.
Yeah, kind of like a vacation home on wheels. And we definitely couldn't afford that. And that's when Lia came across RV life, people living in RVs full time on the road, which neither of us had ever really heard about or come across. And so she started doing some research on that, and pretty quickly after discovering it, deciding, yeah, we're doing this. This sounds cool.
How soon?
I think it was maybe. Well, so I know you told me about the idea, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Like, I'm interested to learn more. And then probably a week later, I think.
It was a week.
It was
whole week. That weekend.
A week later, Lia was looking at an RV while she was in Portland and I was in Idaho. And I looked at an RV separately. And then she came back, and I think the following
weekend,
she found a truck and traded in
by accident. I just drove past it.
Yep. And she like came home and said, I have a truck for us to test drive. And
it was like, in the driveway.
Wow. Where is it? She's like, it's here. It's outside. It's out front. Let's go.
Wow. Very impulsive a week. So Lia, go back and talk about what happened, because you and I spoke. What happened leading to this idea of even going RVing? You had an 18-month-old, right, when you made this decision. So tell my listeners about that story with an 18-month-old, why you decided that RV life sounded like a good idea.
So for me, it actually starts well before having an 18-month-old. For me, as soon as Lennon was born, she was born with sepsis, which is most often fatal in infants. And so I went into this spiral of post-traumatic stress and depression, and I just was so very unhappy. And I realized that I wasn't just unhappy before, like for that reason. I had been unhappy for some time, but sometimes you really don't know that. It takes a big life event for you to witness and maybe have like that outer body experience of like, wow, I really am not thriving. And so I told Trevor, and I was very honest and frank with him, that, we needed to make a change. We needed to find things that brought me more joy. And he was completely supportive. So grateful for that. A lot of people probably tell their spouse that they're unhappy, and their spouse may think it's a reflection of them. And he knew that that was not the case. It had been something I had been going through for many years, and he probably identified it well before I did. And so when Lennon was 18 months old and I was going through therapy, cognitive therapy, talk therapy on a weekly basis, I started identifying the things that I loved. And one of them was travel. And so we knew that we needed to find ways to continue that. When Lennon was 18 months old, I was already starting to think about the cost of 3 plane tickets. We did travel a lot when she was a baby. I think she took something like 25 flights by the time she was 18 months old.
When it was still free for her to get on a plane.
Yes. Yeah. So we were capitalizing on the access to that. And I just knew that like I wanted to continue to show her new things. And I wasn't afraid of taking her on adventures, because it was what made me feel the most alive. And I wanted to inspire her to always have that taste for life too. So that's when we looked into van life. And it was just kind of, I just listened to the episode that you did with Cassie Bailey, and she is a great friend of mine, and her and I are very similar in the way that once we have inspiration in our mind, there will be nothing that stops us. And I'm very much the same. And so when I found out that van life was a possibility, I was like, oh, that's great. Let's figure that out. And I started pricing out builds and figuring out that a lot of the builds were actually on like 2-year wait lists. I was like, oh no, I can't wait 2 years to do this. Like, I need to go now. And then I stumbled across in my research the RV Life hashtag. It was on Instagram. And as soon as I clicked it, like I can almost feel that button click in my body as I talk about it. I just felt that I knew like what our like it was like a turn, like I had turned down that road and that was where we were headed. And I told Trevor, so I was still traveling. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and Trevor's from Boise, Idaho. And so we have grandparents, for Lennon in both the states. So I was going back and forth a lot so that Lennon could have those young moments with grandparents. And so I went to Portland to visit my parents. Trevor was still working full-time in an office. And I called him. He knew I had already like stumbled upon the hashtag. He didn't realize it was going to be so quick that I was going to develop these new ideas.
It was going to happen like now.
Yeah. And so I told my mom about it, and she was a travel agent for 25 years. So she's very interested in travel. My parents were not surprised at all by this notion in my brain. And they fully supported it. And so she went with me to a dealership, an RV dealership, and was like, well, let's go stand in an RV because I've never been inside one before. So I called Trevor and I was like, hey, can you go stand in an RV? And he's like, sure, I'll do that on my lunch break. And so we both went and stood in RVs. Like we both stood in a travel trailer and we both stood in a fifth wheel. We knew that we wanted a towable because we wanted that detachable vehicle, and they're typically a lower entry cost than a drivable RV. So we both went and stood in travel trailers and fifth wheels, talked a little bit with the RV dealership, and found out fifth wheels are a lot better for full-time travel. In most cases, they're the preferred option because of the stability with towing and there's a lot more storage.
I want to get into that because I want to talk to our listeners about that idea of, types of RVs that might be better for families. And this is a might be because everybody's got a different opinion.
For sure.
But I want to go back and I really want to acknowledge and show my appreciation for your sharing and being vulnerable about how you felt after your daughter was born. And I'm going back to that because I think there's not enough people willing to talk about that. When I had my first son, and he is now 36, so a long time ago, I went through postpartum depression. I didn't know what it was. Nobody talked about it. My husband was not aware. And so I went through this period, a long period of time that was just such a dark period. And I don't even have the opportunity to share that very often. I don't know that many people know about that. And the reason that I want to emphasize that is because by sharing these things, by getting the help that people need, it's so important. So I didn't want that to go by without, letting you know how much I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure there are people that are going to hear your story that I hope will go get help, say, hey, it's not just me. And, that is of great benefit.
It's why I share.
Yeah.
I share it high and low all the time. It is something I feel so passionately to spread, to destigmatize the experience that women go through after childbirth.
Right. And to the point, and Trevor, you said it's so important, and it is, the fact that you were aware of it is such a big thing. And again, knowledge is power. I don't know where that saying comes from, but it's true, because for the dad, the partner, whoever that is, to be aware of that and be aware of what to look for, the sooner you can get help, the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've talked about it, so many times. And Trevor can identify the depression that I was experiencing, but he could not identify at the depth. And so he could identify that I was struggling, but it really wasn't until I came to him and said, I need help, that he was like, oh, this is happening, and we started telling our families, and they didn't know either. And it's this, I think it happens a lot with postpartum depression, because we have all been conditioned to, be so excited about parenthood. And it's not that you're not, it's just sometimes when especially if you go through a traumatic experience during that something new, it just becomes so difficult to process and even see. And I think that there is such a stigma with mental health that we don't even realize that we're kind of masking the way that we feel. So we don't even know the pain that we're feeling. And I just, I'm so grateful that I spoke up. I can't imagine what our life would look like if we had continued down that path.
Yeah,
absolutely. And again, this is a topic that, for different reasons, mental health is so important. And, we need to speak up about it. It's just very important. So again, thank you for sharing. You also referred to Cassie Thornvale, the Wild Thorn Valleys I had on about a month ago, who told her story. And, again, it was a traumatic situation. That episode, while it was tearful in her telling the story, the outcome, is very inspirational. So I will post that episode for anybody that wants to listen to it. Okay, so let's move forward. So you found the hashtag RV Life. You see other people that are doing this. So I think there's that reassurance for everybody that we don't feel crazy, like I'm going to pick up and go RVing. For my husband and I, we were living in Las Vegas. Business was totally shut down during COVID. And he called me up to his office and said, hey, let's sell everything, get an RV and travel the country. And I laughed thinking he was kidding. And for me, it was like the furthest thing from my thinking process. I know when you and I talked, you were like, yeah, going out and adventuring was your thing. For me, it was, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? What's this going to look like? How are we going to make money? There were so many things that came up for me. And after, I think it took us 3 months before we decided to buy the RV and do it. And I think that the reason I like both of us telling our stories, and I want to go into this a little more, is because of the people out there. So my listeners are full-timers, part-timers, some-timers, and those people thinking about the RV lifestyle. And so to make it okay, whatever you're coming with, whatever your thoughts are, whatever your feelings are. So for you guys, when you told your family that this is what you were going to do with an 18-month-old, what was the reaction?
So it was different for the different families. So my family was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And Trevor's family also was like, oh crap, that does make sense, but we really don't like it.
Yeah, my family was more like, that sounds amazing. I'm so happy for you guys, and also a little bit mad that you're leaving because we're going to miss you so much, We
had moved from Oregon to Idaho about 4 years prior to starting to travel. And Trevor is one of 7 children in his family. And I'm an only child. So for me, it's very easy for me to just be like wild and free because I don't have anything really holding me back. I don't have that deep rooted family connection where I have to be there. I know that my parents will follow me. Trevor's family, there are so many of them. Oh, we have a dog who's joining.
So let me just, for my RV Life podcast listeners who can't see, there is a hairy animal jumping up and down. So if you hear noises, that's what I love about the RV Life podcast being, unscripted, live, no editing, Okay, now there's the cutest dog in the picture. We're going to have to get pictures of the dog so I could share on social media. Oh,
here he is.
Very cute. Okay, so we have an additional guest.
He's yawning.
He's yawning, so I guess he's a little bored. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So Trevor's family was more just bummed that they were going to have to follow us now because they had worked so hard to get us to come and live in Idaho. They knew we were going to have kids and they were like, okay, please come to Idaho. We'll help. Like, please come. And so we did. And then we shortly after left. So they were a little bummed, but they also, like, every time we go back to visit now, they're just like, this really is such the right fit for you. And it feels so good to have their support. They really have always been supportive of it. And I know that that's not the traditional response for most people. And that really bums me out. So I want to hopefully normalize this for people that, some people are just truly adventurous and this is not crazy for them. This makes sense. This is what they need to feel okay in who they are. And I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Patti, when I saw people in RV life through a social media channel for the first time, I felt like this overwhelming permission to be who I was.
Mm-hmm. And that's great. And for me, I don't know. So Dan and I have 5 kids, 9 grandkids, my mother still alive, his stepmother, and I'm not sure we told them. I think we just assumed they would think we were crazy. So if we didn't tell them, we wouldn't get the response. We told a couple of friends that, I just think they shook their head and smiled. Now that I look back, I don't know how they reacted. I think I was afraid of what I thought they would say, so right. I didn't bother to ask. I should actually go back and say, what did you think? When we first told you this was the idea, what did you think? To get, just get that feedback. But again, it doesn't matter. Do what makes you happy. All 3 of us are very much about live life fully, live life the way you want. And whatever anybody else thinks is, not really our business. So I'm all about that. And I know in talking to you guys, you feel the same way. Okay, so now here you are on the road 6 years, right? Almost 5 years, I guess it is. Yep. Let's dive into tips for the RV Life podcast listeners. And these tips are going to apply whether they have kids or not, but we want to focus on, the kids, what kinds of things. And you do a 5 to 7 day itinerary with tips to travel with kids. So let's start there. Give us some of those tips.
We're kind of freestyle parents. We only have one. We haven't done this before, so we're not perfect by any means. We do for homeschool, we do an outschool class. So it's not a formal curriculum, but it is teacher-led by a certified teacher. And Lennon participates in that 4 days a week and just has holiday breaks. So she has a 3-day week this week and then 2 weeks off at Christmas. Mm-hmm. And so it's the most traditional part of our schooling approach. Outschool is it's kind of a web-based education option that families can purchase, and you purchase it per class. It's not like a membership or anything like that. There's thousands and thousands of classes that you can go through. You can do things like piano lessons, dance lessons, math tutoring, and preschool, kindergarten, first grade, etc. So Lennon has been with the same school teacher for preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, which we think is really cool and something unique that doesn't always exist in the public school system, and sometimes not even in the private school system. To have that same teacher for those 4 educational years has been really something that we're really grateful for, because she has a class of 6. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 kids typically, and she gets very hands-on learning from her teacher. And she now learns to read and to write. And it didn't fall 100% on us. So that was helpful. Yeah. We knew we needed something because we are not educators. That is not what we went to school for. It's not what we have an education in. And so we rely on that for part of our schooling, but we also do a lot of museum travel. So that's a huge part of our itineraries that we share on social media. We will talk a lot about the different museum memberships that we have access to. So we have Boonshoft, which is an Ohio-based museum. And really, you can get this at any museum. It's just their membership, but it gives us access to reciprocal networks. So Lennon can go to the ASTC, which is the Science and Technology Centers, AZA, which is the zoos, the Association of Zoos. And then she also has the ACM, which is the Children's Museum Network. And I even printed out and laminated our list of all of our museums recently, because when we get to a new state, it's nationwide, and we can just pull out our little laminated sheets and say, okay, these are the education opportunities nearby. And so that's one way that we plan our itinerary, is building in our education for the week. But we also do a lot of national park travel. State parks have actually become our favorite.
Yeah, state parks and national parks both have been really good. Lennon really, really loves the Junior Ranger program at national parks and getting all of the badges. And they give you the little workbook that you have to fill out to do little activities around the park. So there's that educational aspect to it. And then she gets the badge, and she's got this little pink vest that's just covered in them. She absolutely loves it.
She has a safari hat and a vest, and they're both bright pink and just so Lennon. She's very artistic and colorful.
Yeah.
And so she wears it with all her badges. She actually has so many badges that it got too heavy. So are trying to find a new solution for the badges. People ask us all the time how many national parks you've been to, and we have no idea.
Wow.
Because we just, when we go to these new places, we kind of look up on Google. I spend a morning when we get there looking up all these state parks and national parks within an hour's drive. And I'll put the list together and show Trevor and Lennon, these are our museum options for the week. These are our outdoor activities. We all love to hike. We have raised Lennon with the idea that she can hike a mile per her age. So she's actually a very advanced hiker at this point. So she can hike comfortably up to 7 miles, I would say.
Wow. Okay. And I'm feeling very out of shape. Wow. That's incredible.
She's an inspiration, we recently took to Acadia National Park for our first time, and Trevor and Lennon went on the Beehive Summit Trail, which, if any listeners have been to Acadia or heard of that hike, it is kind of a well-known, probably world-renowned, really. I'm sure people travel there just to do that summit. And I'm just so inspired by my 6-year-old doing that hike.
That is incredible. That is truly incredible.
Yeah. So that's kind of our approach to education and how we build out our itineraries is, this is not just part-time travel for us. It's also our daily life. Right. So we have to build in our education as we go. And then as a content creator, I create content with our activities, and it's a lot of fun to use all those things together.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit about content creation. What I want to do is talk about dietary needs. We mentioned you guys are vegan. Before we do that, I know for me, when I was getting on the road, Dan and I had a dietary program we were on that was really making a huge difference for both of us health-wise. And so that was a concern, how we were going to do that while on the road. And I think we have a lot of tips we could share. But one of the other things that I know was a concern for me was water. So in the beginning, I was getting bottled water, which isn't the best. And then I was looking into, filters, and there wasn't space inside the RV for the pitcher filter systems. And we came across Clear 2O, which is a water filtration system that either is, they have the water pitchers, if you want to use that. They have inline filters. They have the dual canister filters and the 3 canisters. They have systems for all of your needs. And I'm bringing it up because I really, truly believe in the Clear 2O water system because of how their filtration system is different. Keith, who is the inventor, sat down, we talked, and he explained the difference. And it really made me feel comfortable in using the water through this filtration system. And the big difference is most filters are carbon granules, and the water going through the carbon is what cleans it. It takes the impurities out, it takes the sediment out, and the contaminants, the bacteria. Their filters are carbon blocks, which means the water sits on that carbon block longer, making the water cleaner. And it takes it down as low as 0.5 microns, which is incredible. They are offering my RV Life listeners 15% off. And I am so grateful because, again, I really believe in these products. You could go to clear20.com and the code is RV Life Podcast, and you can get 15% off any of your purchases for it. So, when you think about dietary needs and foods, water was that other thing that was important. So talk about, again, you guys are vegans. And I think for me and a lot of people, a lot of my listeners, people I talk to are concerned about food and health and how do I eat the way that I choose to while on the road. So how does that work for you guys?
I think the biggest tip probably is like, if you are cooking most of your stuff at home, like cooking in the RV is the same.
Exactly the same.
So like you might have a little bit smaller oven than you're used to. You might have a little bit smaller fridge than you're used to. Sometimes a lot of them come with residential fridges even these days. But apart from that, like, it's a little bit different, but you can cook all the same stuff that you cooked in a house or that you're used to eating. The one weird part is that grocery stores change around the country. So like every time you go into a grocery store, you're kind of figuring where everything is again, because it's all in a different spot. But apart from that, if you can be like a little bit flexible, it's not that different.
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge is definitely the grocery store. It takes, because we read labels, because we are checking for any animal products in the labels, it takes a 1-hour shopping trip and makes it about a 2-hour shopping trip for me every time. One, because I'm reading all the labels, and two, just because every grocery store for some reason is laid out in a different way. You go in and you feel like you have like this general consensus, but if you're looking for a very specific product like nutritional yeast, which is very, like, every vegan buys that probably every shopping trip. It is a great supplement that you can buy that tastes like cheese. And it's just these little nutritional flakes, and they have really great vitamin B in them and iron and all sorts of other nutrient-based benefits. And so I can never find it at any grocery store. So I did learn that most of the grocery stores these days, you can download the app for that grocery store and you can look up products and they'll tell you which aisle they're in. So that has started to save me a lot of time. And we also have our favorite grocery stores. Surprisingly, I wouldn't think that Walmart would have been at one of the top of our list, but they carry a lot of vegan products and they're widely available across the United States. A lot of the places we stay are very rural.
And they're a little bit more consistent from store to store. A lot of other ones, like different branches of the same store, will have like super
widely different products.
Different products.
Oh, absolutely. I have found that myself. It's a going across the country. People used to ask all the time, well, where do you go shopping? And I always thought that was funny. And I said grocery stores, just like you do. Or Costco was a big thing for us, even though it was just the two of us. Space is small, Costco. And ordering things from Amazon. I don't know if you guys do that, but you're right. Every store is so different how it is laid out. It's crazy. I think there's a little girl does she have something she wants to say?
You want to say hi? Come on in and say hello. Come stand by me. You'll be able to be seen. Say hi.
Hi, Lennon.
Hi, this is Lennon.
It's nice to
stocking on my arm.
It's a little stocking with a jingle bell on it.
Oh, no, is that a
stocking?
Yep.
It's a stocky. Is that a squishmallow?
Oh no, we're just preparing for the holidays.
Got it.
Our grandma and grandpa sent us they keep our stockings there because they usually visit us for the holidays, but they're not coming this year. And they usually just travel with the stockings in their suitcase when they come. Okay. But they just shipped them to us this week. So Lennon must be decorating downstairs.
Yep. Got it. And another good tip for people who travel. So I guess you have stuff stored at grandma and grandpa's house. That's a great travel tip. But as far as food go, I mean, I agree with you, having had dietary needs myself, finding that I cooked more in the RV. I think people think of RVing, camping, like you're camping. So it's hot dogs and hamburgers or, whatever that looks like. And it's not, because I was thinking of food and preparing food and making sure it was the food that, we were able to eat. So those are great reminders, tips for people. I have people that are thinking, like I said, of the RV life, and I know that's a concern. People with dietary needs. I know Cassie from Wild Thorn Valley was sharing that they have a stomach issue, gluten issue. Yeah. So being able to cook at home, know exactly what you're getting is huge. So I want my listeners to know that it is the same as if you're trying to cook at home. So that's a great tips.
One of the things that can be challenging is if you do like to eat out at restaurants and stuff, and you do have dietary restrictions, that can be a bigger challenge on the road.
But we have tips for that too.
Yeah. Like with us being vegan, that is very highly dependent on the area of the country you're in and like what city. Like some places are great and have tons of restaurants, and then we'll go to other places where there's literally not a restaurant with a single vegan item on the menu within 50 miles.
Probably like 150 miles. Yeah.
Right. So then those are the areas that you're cooking at home. You're not going out to eat. And it's about planning. I think some of that's about planning. I have my son and grandson is allergic to or can't tolerate milk products. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there are times that, there's a family of 15 of us trying to go out to eat. And there are times that there's literally nothing at the restaurant and they won't trust it. If somebody says, oh, I think it doesn't have milk products. No, they won't trust it.
Yeah, if you're depends on that, then you can.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So sometimes they'll eat before. We'll try and make other choices. And yes, to your point, there are better places than others. But like you said, that's probably more about planning. Like, is this
Yeah, we usually eat before we go to any event that we're invited to, and try not to, we don't make our veganism a issue for other people, that is our choice. And so when people invite us to something, we don't say like, oh, we can't come because we're vegan. We just eat before we go.
Right. And that's the same thing. Again, I have transitioned back into a house, as a lot of my listeners know, over the last 7 months. And I am now going back to the dietary. I don't want to say diet because it's not a diet. It's just the foods that I know are going to work well for me. And I'm going to say it again. It's about planning. So I know if I'm going somewhere, I will sometimes take my little lunch thing with foods that I'm going to be able to eat. So it's totally doable. Totally doable.
We don't go anywhere without a lunchbox.
Right. Exactly. And, I don't worry about what other people think. This is what works for me. It's what's kept me healthy. I'm doing it. And I've just recently committed to getting back to what I need to do food wise. So
good for you.
We'll talk again in a month and see how it's going with the holiday. Okay. So let's talk about pets, because not only do you travel with 2 pets, they are senior pets with some issues, I'm going to say.
That's correct.
So tell us a little bit about the issues with pets and how you're overcoming that.
Yeah. So I'll have Trevor introduce Banana Pig, who is our difficult dog. We have 2 dogs. The other isn't here today, so we can't provide a video introduction, but his name is Mango Salsa. He's our rescue, and he's Banana Pig's companion animal. So instead of having a service animal, we have unintentionally become service humans to Banana Pig. He has very severe separation anxiety, meaning that we cannot leave him unattended, not even to go take out the trash. He has debilitating anxiety and you hear him.
Yes, he's responding.
Yeah, he will cry very loudly until we return. To him, having his humans not within visual sight is just completely paralyzing. So we take him everywhere. We do a lot of research. There's an app called Bring Fido, FIDO, and we will look up places that we can take our pets with us and just have them a part of every adventure. I've always been a really big dog lover, so I think it makes sense that I was the mom to this guy, because most people would have given up on him, would have rehomed him. And Trevor is such a good dog dad, and Banana actually likes Trevor more.
Oh.
So that's why he's over there.
He's got his head popped up. He's like, I know you're talking about me.
He does.
And that's great. And again, people with animals, some people are able to leave them in an RV. I know we've talked on the show previously about having a sensor that alerts you if the heat or the AC goes out to make sure the temperature, stays what it needs to be in the RV, because it can get dangerous.
Yes.
And for you guys being able to take your pet, there are a lot of campgrounds and RV parks and places that are pet friendly. Most of the ones I've been in are pet friendly, as well as there's a great app, Bring Fido. And then, there are places that you can take your pet with you. Yeah. Great suggestions there. I'm sure there's more there. I really want to jump into the big thing that people think about, whether they have kids or not, and that is making money on the road. Now, Trevor, you worked for a company, and I understand right before Thanksgiving last year, you were laid off of all times of the year. And that's what can happen sometimes when we're working for somebody else. And you become a freelance web developer. And Lia, you become a content creator. So I'm going to let you both dive into what you do. Let's talk about, about making money on the road, being able to make this work.
Yeah. So for us last year, it was the Friday before Thanksgiving, which is, what day is it? It's Tuesday. So it was like this week last year. Yeah. Trevor went into his meeting and came out without a job.
Yeah, it was one of those out of nowhere on a Friday. Be like, sorry guys, we're done. So
wow,
it was my whole team. They were just, switching things up and deciding to do something different, and my whole team was laid off.
And there were different challenges with that we had never thought of until we experienced it. And so I'm really grateful, Patti, that you're asking us these questions, because I think there's a lot of value in talking about this, a lot of unknown and a lot of things to plan for and consider. I wish that we had known that if Trevor had lost his job, that we would be denied all unemployment benefits. That was quite a surprise to us. That Monday following his Friday layoff, we contacted the Idaho Department of Labor, and Trevor reported that he had lost his job, and they asked him his approval questions to qualify for the unemployment benefits. And one of the questions was about, here, I'll let you.
Are you going to be leaving the state for any reason in the next month or whatever, the next 30 days? And my answer was, I'm not going to be in the state for probably
a year.
I'm not sure when. And so that turned into, was one of those technicalities that we had never thought of. In order to claim unemployment, you have to be proving that you are job hunting in your area, in your state, because I was trying to collect unemployment from Idaho. And the fact that I wasn't physically in Idaho meant that I could not collect that, even though none of the companies I had worked for previously or was applying for were based in Idaho. They were all remote positions that I could do from anywhere. And we had been traveling full time for years without any issue. But just that fact that I wasn't within like 50 or 100 miles or whatever the technicality is of my address.
Physically within.
Wow. That's incredible.
So it was just this very triggering event where we were like, oh, well, we don't even get unemployment benefits. What do we do now? So I had already started dabbling in content creation. And I actually was having my best month, the month that he got laid off. And so we just knew that, there was an income available there and that we needed to dive into it because there was not going to be any financial assistance. We didn't qualify for food stamps. We didn't get health insurance benefits. None of that was available to us. So we needed cash immediately. And so I talked to all my brand partners that I had existing and started pitching for new ones. We've had an incredible year. Within 6 months, I was able to 4x my income year over year. And I don't actually know what the number is for year over year yet. I'm waiting because I've got a month left.
Right. First of all, that is incredible. And I want to point out, because when we talk about content creation, the episode I did on, I don't even know what day it is today, I think 11/20, I had an expert on that talked about tips on content creation. So many people are looking to do that. And for people to understand that it's not an overnight thing, but it's possible. You were persistent. You had your driving force that this had to get done. And so you were able to not only make money content, being a content creator, but increase that amount. So it's possible for people. I want people to know that. And to also, it's not the easiest thing in the world. So congratulations on that, first of all. And you also referred to the fact that, you had affiliate programs, I think is what you referred to. And let me just, for people who aren't aware, that is the ability to work with companies where so for the podcast, I have people that advertise on the podcast. And there's a different relationship between the podcast where they pay to be an advertiser on the podcast. But I also have affiliate programs that I work with. You and I both work with some of the same programs. And it's finding the ones that work best for you, finding the ones you truly believe in. And Lia, I'm going to let you take it, how you decide which programs, which companies you work with.
Yeah. So for us, we always start at home is what I say. We walk around our house and we look on our apps and we consider what are things we're already using. And I think a lot of times when people think about content creation, their first thing that they jump to think of is physical products. I actually would much rather advertise experiences and things because we're minimalists. And so it's really easy to become overrun with physical items. So while I do, of course, still love some of our physical items, I always ask to partner with ones I already have and already love.
Mm-hmm.
So,
same for me. We do the same thing. I've used the product or service. I have loved it. I know the people who are involved in the company before I even agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think for me that was kind of the biggest thing is not starting new. Like instead, start with the things you already have, because that just makes it so much easier and it makes pitching more natural too. So I initially signed up for I had started a program last year where I had purchased kind of a program that had pitches available. And then I took those pitches. I actually got so busy because he got laid off and I had to make money immediately. I've not done anything else from the program. I only took the pitches, customized them to my own, speech, and started sending them out. And it was amazing the response we received, because I think there's something to be said about when you already love a product, you basically sell the product that already exists or the service to that company, but they're buying you. They're buying your lifestyle. They want to get in front of your trusted audience. And
Absolutely.
it's been this natural flow. And I'm very passionate about, the RV lifestyle. So we do a lot of things within that niche, and we have built our audience that way. And so it doesn't feel inauthentic. And I think that that's why it's successful, is because I'm very intentional with who I choose to partner with. And I say no to people that it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And that is what you just said is so important. Authentic. It has to be a product or service you love. I absolutely agree 100% with what you're saying. We both are partnered with RV Life, RV Life Pro. That was, something I bought. So when Dan was trying to convince me to go RVing, he had bought the app, the program, and it's trip planning and RV Safe GPS and campground reviews. And so he did all these trip plans and said, wow, look at this, look at what we could do, again, to try and convince me. But from the beginning, we really loved what they have to offer. We love the product. Obviously, this is the RV Life podcast. So that's a good example. Both of us both promote RV Life, and that's a good example for people. Do what you love, be authentic, don't try and be salesy, all of those things. And I want to talk a little more about that. I want to talk about what you're doing, Trevor, as a freelance web developer, which is outside my scope of understanding. So we're going to dive into that. But I want to talk a little bit about saving money while we're on the road. One of the things that I do to save money, and you guys use it too, is the Open Roads Fuel Card. So the Open Roads Fuel Card, for those people who don't know, it is for diesel fuel. It is a way to save money every time you stop for diesel fuel. And the card is absolutely free to sign up for. You get your card, you have an app on your phone, and you search the area you're going to be in and decide where you're going to stop for gas. And their average is between 40 and 60 cents a gallon. And I have saved, I want to say $1 a gallon. I save so much money every time we stop for diesel that it really adds up. So people who are on the road, not only looking to make money, but finding places where you could actually save money. So let's go back to you, Trevor, and talk about freelance web developer. I know it's the kinds of things I need. I don't understand. So I'm grateful for people like you, but let's talk about that. What are you doing?
Yeah, so that's what I was doing full time when I had a full time job as well. I was a web developer. So I've been doing that for a little over 10 years. And while I was employed full time, I've also done little freelancing gigs on the side here and there, just kind of over the years as, people have needed a website or whatever. So luckily I had some people I had worked with, some clients from doing that over the last 10 years, that when I was laid off, I was able to, reach out to some of them and find a couple of new clients, and luckily was able to use that freelancing to sustain us over the last year, in addition to Leah's content creation. But yeah, so I build websites is kind of the easy way to put it.
That works for me.
Yeah, it can be simple ones like, a blog or a little e-commerce shop if you want to sell some merch. But I can also do way more complicated stuff like building full custom applications, and like this warehouse management thing I built for a client who has multiple warehouses in multiple states, and they need to track where their inventory goes. So it kind of runs the gamut.
Okay, so give my listeners the website, and then I'll put it in the show notes so they can reach out to you. I'm assuming as a web developer, you have a website.
I do. So my personal website is trevoreyre.com, which has a few examples of my work. And I'm actually spinning up a new page right now on our website, llamalamaadventure.com. I'm adding a new page there as well for freelance web development services. My personal website is like a little bit more technical, a little bit more geared towards
full-time.
Yeah, my full-time like software engineering stuff. Right. So It's a little bit more technical and in the weeds if you want like a basic website, but this other one on llamalamaadventure.com is going to speak more to that.
Right. And I'm going to put that in the show notes so people have a place to go and then they can reach out to you for anything and everything else they need on what we talked about. I see our time. I'm trying to cram in as much as possible with our time. And I usually don't care how much time we go, but there's been a lot of information. Let me just talk about, again, ways people can save money. Some of my RV life listeners like to camp in the cold weather. Air skirts, the inflatable RV skirt, insulates and protects your RV's undercarriage. Air skirting goes around the perimeter of the RV, and it's a revolutionary way to keep cool air from getting in, and it keeps you warmer, preventing pipes from freezing. These air skirts inflate, and then deflate for easy storage. It is a great way for both, if you're camping in the cold and you want to save on, if you're paying for electricity or you're paying for propane, but they also work really well if you're in the really hot temperatures doing the same thing. And they are giving my RV Life podcast listeners a $200 discount off any kit order. And that is RV Life Pod, RV POD. So RV Pod. So you could check them out at airskirts.com to find out all about this product. Okay. One of the things I wanted to circle back to, there has been a lot, and I'm really grateful you guys were able to jump on and give such great information. You guys are also part of full-time families. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what full-time families is? I know you have a code, if you could share that.
Yeah, so we have the lifetime membership for full-time families. You can either do an annual or a lifetime membership. And we always knew from day one that we would at least spend 2 years doing this full time, and that was what we had committed to ourselves. And now here we are 5 years later. So I'm really glad that I bought the lifetime access. It has saved money, but the greatest benefit to that program is the network that comes with it. So it's a network of families who are full-time. You don't have to be full-time to join it, by the way. If you are traveling maybe part of the year or even just, seasonally, I still encourage checking into the membership, because the benefit, especially if you travel 1,000 trails, is access to chatting with other families. So when we're going to 1,000 trails, we can join chats specific to each location and announce in the chat, like, hey, we'll be there these dates, and we're traveling with a 6-year-old daughter. These are her interests. And we can match her up with other kids to play and make friends along the road. And without that program, it would be a lot more difficult to navigate life, especially with an only child. I think having an only child has its own significant challenges of loneliness, because the only people to play with are mom and dad, and we're not like as cool as most kids.
Right. True. Very true.
Oh,
Sorry.
Our gimbal just I think it powered down because it's probably
Oh, okay. So we
putting
lost
it back on.
your, and again, just don't, and it's okay for my listeners. We look at each other on video, and their video just went all kinds of wonky, but it sounds like they are still there.
Yeah.
Let me just talk while you're getting that back. 1,000 Trails, for those who don't know, is a membership. They have campgrounds across the country. Anybody that wants information on the 1,000 Trails program, I do have membership specialists that I recommend that I'll put in the show notes. 1,000 Trails, I believe, is the most cost-effective way to go RVing, whether you're part-time, sometime, full-time, it doesn't matter. And they have a new program. So they have the new membership. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of. It's called the Journey membership, and that allows you to have the membership for either 2 years or full 4 years, as opposed to a lifetime membership. What's nice about that membership is it includes absolutely everything. There's no other fees. And again, anybody looking to find out more about 1,000 Trails membership, the information will be in the show notes. Okay. I have to start wrapping up. There's still information I want to cover. I've got more questions for you. I want to talk about a company that I've been connected to for 3 years, pretty much the entire time I've been full-time RVing, and that is NIRVC, National Indoor RV Centers. And the thing I want to talk about today is not something people want to talk about, and that is the potential blowout on a motorhome. And blowouts, and the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I just was talking to somebody about a story of a tire blowout on a motorhome that could have been catastrophic. It wasn't, thankfully, but there is an incredible product called Retroban that will take care of getting you safely off the road if there should be a blowout. This product looks like a donut and it sits on the inside ring of the tire. If the tire bursts or loses air, the ring prevents the tire rim from making contact with the ground, and it allows you to maintain control of your vehicle and get to a safe place. You can find out all about this at nirvc.com, and anybody that has a motorhome, I highly recommend it. But now is the part of the podcast which I love, because I get to ask my guests this question and they don't know it's coming. And what I want to know is for you guys to share with my listeners something that's on your bucket list, either something that you have done that you're going to recommend or something you are looking to do. And I'm going to give you a minute or two to think about it and talk about the fact that this question is brought to you by Open Roads Innovative Toll Solution. This is a toll pass that covers all 48 states. It costs $24 for the year, and whatever toll road you are on in the US, it takes care of it. If you should ever have a problem with this toll pass, with a toll, you get a fine, Innovative Toll Solutions has concierge service. So you can either go on the app, tell them what the problem is, or you could call, you have concierge service that will help you through it. No more paying fines on toll roads that you've gone on. Okay, so that's just to give you guys time to think of that place that you would recommend.
I think Trevor knows what I'm going to say is on my bucket list.
On your bucket list or
Yeah.
completed one?
On. It's a state that I can't stop talking about and we haven't been to.
Montana, Wyoming, Washington.
I'm very surprised you said it. Alaska. I would so want to go to
He
Alaska.
was so close.
Yeah.
Okay, Alaska. Okay.
He just named all the states except for Alaska that we haven't been to.
I think if we gave him another minute, he would have gotten to
He would have. Yeah,
got
he
it.
was, we've been to 38 states. So he wouldn't have much time to spend going through them. So
Right.
Yeah,
So
Alaska.
Okay. That's a state I also want to go to. It is definitely on my bucket list. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys, we talked a little bit about, we're not done yet. I have the feature I want to talk about. I'm going to lead people to llamaadventure.com, which then has all of your information there. But it is now time for the featured campground of the week, and it's brought to you by RV Life that we've spoken about. RV Life has trip planning, it has RV Safe GPS, it has campground reviews, and the campground this week is Encore Clearbrook. And wow, I'm really stumbling here. RV Resort, and it's in Claremont, Florida. It has 1,129 sites. And this RV resort, it's about 20 minutes to Disney. It has a beautiful golf course, ocean frontage, ponds, canals, majestic trees. It offers full hookups, pull-in sites. It is absolutely dog-friendly and has a dog park. You could have cottage and campground rentals if you need those. This is a great campground. It has a 7.6 rating on RV Life Campgrounds, and it's got 125 reviews. To get to this campground and any campground, you go to campgrounds.rvlife.com. Just search Encore Clearbrook Golf and RV Resort. I finally got it out in Claremont, Florida. And once you get there, there's this large red book now button making it easy to book your stay. When you go to campgrounds.rvlife.com, you could see more photos and tips, the full list of amenities for this property. RV Life Campgrounds is part of the RV Life Pro suite of products. It's the most comprehensive source of RV parks, campgrounds, resorts, as well as city, states, and national parks, corps of engineer properties, and so much more. I highly recommend visiting campgrounds.rvlife.com. Well, Trevor, Lia, I can't thank you guys enough for being on, offering so much incredible value for my listeners. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We could talk RV life for the rest of our lives. So we're so happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I am going to recommend people go to your pages. So I am going to post llamaadventure.com, and then people can find all the pages you're on: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and they can ask you questions, send you messages, as well as any questions, messages for us on the podcast platform that people are listening. There is a place for a review. Please put your questions, your comments. We would all love to hear them, as well as my channels, Instagram, Facebook is RV Life Podcast. Wow, what a show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, you're listening to the RV Life Podcast. I'm Patti Hunt, wishing you a great rest of today and an even better day tomorrow.